are revisiting the 2019 Suzuki RM Z450. Now, since our shootout, we spent quite a few hours in this motorcycle trying to do setup and to make some improvements. Now, during our shootout, this wasn't necessarily the most popular motorcycle in the group, but nobody felt it was actually a bad motorcycle. It was pretty much a setup that, kind of like discounted some of the items that the motorcycle really shines at. Now, following our shootout, we did some basic setup changes to help improve the overall chassis. The biggest thing we did was add a ride engineering lowering link. This allowed to balance out the motorcycle to combat that stink bug effect some people were complaining about. Up front, the fork is a little harsh on small bumps, but then again, when you backed out the compression, it bottomed out. To combat this, we actually added 10 cc's of fork oil to each fork leg, and this really helped smooth out the small bump compliance, but also it helped keep the fork riding a little higher in the stroke and improved bottoming control at the same time. Now, these two improvements are the easiest way to get the best value out of your RMZ if you are in a budget constraint. From there, we had quite a few hours on our RMZ 450, and it was time to do some maintenance items. So instead of creating this elaborate, ultra expensive project bike, we wanted to keep it simple, things that normal person would do. Suspension rebuild, maybe revalve, exhaust, chains, sprockets, tires, graphics, seat cover, those kind of items. Because these motorcycles are actually more cost effective from the dealership for some reason, because they aren't as popular as some of the other brands, you can save thousands of dollars. You can take that savings and actually do all the stuff we did and create quite a bit of a really good motorcycle overall.
What's up, guys? Dustin Hoffman here. We're out here at Kauai. We went ahead and did some changes, so I want to go through and thank the people involved in this. First and foremost, Race Tech. They went through and did the suspension for us, which was my biggest complaint. Motion Pro hooked us up with some tools, awesome, some chairs. Thank you guys. Dr. D gave us a slip-on pipe to give the bike a little bit more pep. Dunlop hooked us up with some MX33s, their latest and greatest tire. Super Sprox with chains and sprockets. Thrill Seekers with the seat. These things are awesome. And Suzuki for giving us this opportunity to mess with their bikes. All right, so the biggest change and the thing that I wanted to address most was the suspension, like I said. So Race Tech went ahead and revalved and rebuilt the suspension. And I just never could get a happy place with the stock fork and shock. The fork was just really harsh up top and kind of blew through, and the shock was just kind of pogo sticky, and I could never find a happy place. So I went ahead and gave Race Tech my feedback. I asked them to make it a little bit stiff, which they did. So the bike's really plush up top. It has a good feel up top. It holds up in the stroke, which is something I like. I like a pretty stable bike that doesn't have a bunch of like body sway or suspension movement. So that overall, initially right away, that was a huge improvement. From there, we wanted a little bit more pep, so we went ahead and installed Dr. D slip-on, and it did the trick, gave us a little more pep. If I was going to do anything else to the motor as far as performance, I would probably go with the high compression piston, or maybe give Race Tech the head and let them do their magic with that. So maybe we'll do something like that in a little bit near future, but for now, this is what we got. Just one day out here at Kauai on this thing. So not a ton of time, and the track's pretty smooth, but still you can tell right away, just when I swung my leg over the thing and rode out to the track, I could tell that it was going to be a big improvement. So for this project, we didn't want to go too crazy and break the bank, so we tried to keep it simple and real-world type modifications. So we had a lot of time on the bike, so we did the suspension, new chains and sprockets, and then we just basically dressed up the bike and made her look nice. A lot of stuff like the different bars and the different seat, that's just personal preference for me. Just like a little bit more grip and a little low stiff bars. Believe it or not, the Suzuki is a really good option for 90% of the people riding out there. It's a really easy bike to ride. The motor's not too crazy, but it's not slow. It's still 450. It handles well. It looks really good. And with a little bit of stuff like that we did with the suspension, you can make the bike extensively better than it is off the showroom.